Night 1. Shahrazad said, I have heard a fortunate king, that a wealthy merchant who had many dealings throughout the lands rode out one day to settle a matter of business in one of them. When it became hot, he sat down under a tree and put his hand in his saddlebag, from which he took out a piece of bread and a date. He ate, and when he had finished with the date, he threw away its stone, at which a huge Ifrit appeared with a drawn sword in his hand. This Ifrit came up to the merchant and said, Get up, so that I can kill you as you killed my son. How did I kill your son? Asked the merchant. And the Ifrit told him, When you ate that date and threw away the stone, it struck my son in the chest as he was walking, and he died instantly. We belong to God, and to him do we return, recited the merchant, adding, There is no might and no power except with God, the exalted, the omnipotent. If I killed him, this was by accident. So please forgive me. I must kill you, insisted Ifrit, and he dragged off the merchant, threw him down on the ground, and raised his sword to strike. With tears in his eyes, the merchant exclaimed, I entrust my affair to God, and then he recited these lines. Time is 2 days, one safe and one of peril, and our lives are of 2 halves, one fair, one overcast. Say to those reproach us for what time has done. Does time oppose any but great men? Do you not see that when the storm winds blows, it is the tall trees that they strike? Corpses rise to the surface of the sea, while it is in its depths that pearls lie hid. It may be that time will mishandle us, subjecting us to constant harm. True, in the heavens there are countless stars, only the sun and moon suffer eclipse. There are both green and dry both on the earth, but we throw stones only at those with fruit. You think well of the days when thou do not fear the evil that it brings. When he had finished, the Ifrit said, Stop talking, for, by God, I am most certainly going to kill you. Ifrit, the merchant said, I am wealthy, man, with a wife and children. I have debts and I hold deposits. So let me go home and give everyone their due before returning to you at the start of the new year. I shall take a solemn oath and swear to God that I shall come back to you, and you can then do what you want with me. God will be the guarantor of this. They trusted him and let him go. After which he went home, settled all his affairs, and gave everyone what was owed them. He told his wife and children what had happened, gave them his instructions, and stayed with them until the end of the year. When he got up, performed the ritual ablution, and with his shroud under his arm, said goodbye to his family and all his relations as well as his neighbors, and set off reluctantly. Well, they all wept and wailed. He came to the orchard on what was New Year's Day, and as he sat there weeping over his fate, a very old man approaching him, leading a gazelle on a chain. The newcomer greeted him and asked him why he was sitting there alone. When the place was a haunt of jinn, the merchant told the story of his encounter with the ifrit, and the old man exclaimed, "By God, brother, you are a very pious man, and your story is so wonderful that were in written with needles on the corners of men's eyes. It would be a lesson for those who take heed." He took his seat by the merchant's side and promised not to leave until he had seen what happened to him with the ifrit. As the two of them sat there talking, the merchant was overcome by an access of fear together with ever increasing distress and apprehension. It was at this point that the second old man arrived, having with them two blacks. After greeting the two men, he asked them why they were sitting in this haunt of jinn, and they told him the story from beginning to end. No sooner had he sat down with them than a third old man with a dappled mule came up, greeted them, and asked why they were there, at which they repeated the whole story. But there is no point in going over it again. As soon as the newcomer had sat down, a huge dust devil appeared in the middle of the desert, clearing a way to show the ifrit with a drawn sword in his hand and sparks shooting from his eyes. He came up to the tree, dragged the merchant from between them, and said, "Get up, so that I can kill you as you killed my beloved son." The merchant sobbed and wept, while the three old men shed tears, wailed and lamented. Then the first of them, the man of the gazelle, left the others, kissed the Ifrit hand and said, "Genie, royal crown of the jinn, if I tell you the story of my connection with the gazelle, will you grant me a third share in this merchant's blood?" The Ifrit agreed to do this if he found the story marvelous. And so the old man began his tale. "No, Ifrit, that is gazelle is my cousin, my own flesh and blood. I married her when she was still young and stayed with her for 30 years without her bearing me a child. So I took a concubine and she bore me a son. The perfection of the whose eyes and eyebrows made him look like the full moon when it appears. He grew up, and when he was 15, I had occasion to travel to a certain city, taking with me a great quantity of trade goods. My wife, now this gazelle, had studied sorcery since her youth, and she turned the boy into a calf and his mother into a cow, handing them over the herdsman. After a long absence, I got back from my journey. I asked about the two of them, and my wife told me that the woman had died and that the boy had run away, where she did not know. For years, I remained sad at heart and tearful until Eid al-Adha came around, and I sent to tell the herdsman to bring me a fat cow. What he brought me was my slave girl, whom my wife had enchanted. I tucked up my clothes, took the knife in my hand, and was about to slaughter her, when she gave a cry, howled, and shed tears. That astonished me, and feeling pity for her, I left her and told the herdsman to fetch me another. At that, my wife called out, "This one, as I have no winner or father cow." I went up again to do the killing, and again the cow gave a cry, at which I told the herdsman to slaughter her and then eat her. He did this only to discover that there was neither flesh nor fat in the carcass. but only skin and bone. I was sorry for what I had done at a time when regret was of no use. I gave the cow to the herdsman, telling him to bring me a fat calf. He brought me my son, and when this calf caught sight of me, he broke his tether and rolled in the dust in front of me, howling and shedding tears. Again, I felt pity and told the herdsman to leave the calf and fetch me a cow. And again, my wife, now this guy called to me, insisting that I must slaughter the calf that day. This is a noble and a blessed day, she pointed out. The sacrifice must be a good one, and we have nothing flatter or finer than this calf. Look at what happened with the cow that you told me to kill. This led to me disappointment, and we got no good from it all, leaving me full of regret at having slaughtered it. This time, I'm not going to do what you say or kill this cow. By God, the omnipotent, the compassionate, the merciful, you must do this on this noble day. If you don't, then you are not my husband, and I'm not your wife. On hearing these harsh words, but not realizing what she intended to do, I went up to the calf with the knife in my hand. Morning now dawned, and Shahrazad broke off from what she had been allowed to say. What a good, pleasant, delightful, and sweet story this is, exclaimed Dunyazad. At which Shahrazad told her, how can this compare with what I shall tell you this coming night? If I am still alive and the king spares me, by God, the king said to himself, I am not going to hang her until I heard the rest of the story. And so they spent the rest of the time embracing one another until the sun had fully risen. The king then went to his court as the vizier came with the sword under his arm, and he gave his judgment, appointing some officials and dismissing others until evening. But the vizier's great surprise, he gave no instructions about his daughter. The court was then dismissed, and King Shahryar returned to his palace. Good night.